So now we have ships massed around Iran. The president's talking about a friendly takeover of Cuba. What was it, a month ago that we deposed and arrested the leader of Venezuela, Maduro? Now, that was supposed to be because of fentanyl, right? Drugs? Even though Venezuela is not a major, not even a minor supplier to the US, and the boats that Killer Hegseth has been bombing are fishing boats. They're not capable of bringing huge loads of drugs to the US, much less reaching the US. These are like Boston whaler type boats. Already there are international lawsuits from families who have lost their loved ones whom they say were fishermen. Meanwhile, Donald J. Trump has been mentioned something like 38,000 times or more in the Trumpstein files. We have very credible evidence, including hidden FBI 302s, but revealed affidavits from multiple witnesses that Trump and Epstein sexually abused, if not raped, a girl who was around 13 years old. These are not the kind of people I want serving me in the public. The Epstein committee that's been calling Hillary Clinton, why don't they call Lutnick? Why don't they call Mehmet Oz? Donald J. Trump? So this is a administration that is involved in lie after lie. Now, coming back to Iran, I have very close friends who are Persian and who would love to see Persia liberated again, Iran liberated. I would, but everything Trump touches dies. I believe that's a book written by Rick Wilson, and it's very true. I never wanted to have anything to do with him from the moment he emerged on the scene in 2015, early 2016, sometime around 2015. I knew he was a shyster. I knew he was a con man. I mean, it's so obvious. And I'm not in the Epstein files. You're not in the Epstein files. We're not part of the Epstein elite. Has anything become better in Venezuela since Trump touched it? He has set up a private account in Qatar where all the oil money is going. He claims some is going to go back to Venezuela, but it's all a big grift. Look, these are really powerful negatives. We need to get this person out of office. Some people keep hoping he's going to die, but I saw him today doing a presser, and I think I've always said he's demented, and his dementedness is getting worse, but I don't expect him to die. I don't expect his mind to go vacant as with Alzheimer's. So we're suffering through something where he's attacked Canada, insulted our neighbors. We are now left out of most of the major trade in the world. That beautiful Trans-Pacific partnership that Obama tried to get going, forget about it. The nuclear agreement that we had with Iran, forget about it. This is a man who takes anything that's good and destroys it, creates a fire, and then says, oh, I'm going to put out the fire now. Or you fucked it up in the first place. And now we're supposed to watch passively while he masses ships off of Iran. He has no plan for regime change. And frankly, that's something that has to come from within. And, we can do what we can do as a nation to facilitate that. But it has to be something competent. And Trump isn't competent. A new war is breaking out between Afghanistan and Pakistan. India is mad at Pakistan. He said he got that war under control. It's not. The wars in Africa that he said he had stopped are ongoing. Some of the wars he said he stopped never were wars. People were just mad at each other, but there was no physical altercation. That was what involving Ethiopia and who knows, Egypt. I think it was Egypt. So now he's massing ships outside of Iran. I thought he said that the nuclear program was, quote, obliterated, unquote. Doesn't that mean it's damaged beyond repair, beyond existence? But now Witkoff, one of his grifter friends, is saying, no, Iran is just weeks away from nuclear grade fuel and bombs. Well, at least the fuel part. I don't think they have, the bomb part is easy enough. They've got lots of friends, North Korea, Russia. Believe me, they've got the friends. They can do the missile part, the carrier part. But he said it was obliterated, and it wasn't. So why am I supposed to believe this man now? Do I look like a fool? So we need to get this man out. Now, what I worry about And this is the second part of the podcast. This is David Steinman, the Heartland podcast. You can subscribe at David Steinman _author. You can get my Substack newsletter at David William Steinman. I do a lot about health. This is about health for the nation. I have voted on both sides of issues and parties, so I consider myself pretty much an every person, every man, every American. Now, what the Democrats need to do is work on a really strong message. They have to stop taking so much corporate money, and they should stop taking money from AIPAC and stop being a stooge for the loss of democracy in Israel, too. That nation needs democracy, too. They've had Netanyahu in for way too many years. And I realize the Israelis are in a different world than we are here. But for the Democrats to make gains, they have to treat all people with dignity and understand every people, whether it's Palestinian or Israeli, has aspirations, and we have to start healing areas. I know that sounds pie in the sky, but what was done to the people there, October 7th was bad. The response was bad. It was all bad. But for the Democrats to win, they're going to need to just play it, with humanity and best outcomes for everyone, understanding the risks that Israel faces in a hostile land, but also understanding that you can do too much to assuage those risks and hurt too many people and create more militants in the future. It may be a self-defeating when you are so indiscriminate and deadly and killing children and so on. But they need to stop taking corporate money, and they need to learn how to talk to MAHA. So here are some key MAHA issues I want to mention. Every Democrat needs to speak out against Roundup and glyphosate. Every Democrat now needs to start saying we want more organic, we want more small farms, we want to increase funding for the organic program. Every Democrat needs to reopen the Office of Environmental Civil Rights for the EPA and say that needs to be reopened, and we need to reinvigorate that program. In addition, Democrats need to, my kids are vaccinated, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. But Democrats need to learn how to speak to this issue in a real way, which is vaccinations are safe, especially the basic ones like measles, mumps, rubella, for 99% of the population. It's such a high figure. That's why we do want a 95% or higher vaccination rate, because it's going to be safe. Now, there are always people within the bell curve for whom it won't be safe or won't be good. And we need to acknowledge that too. The way Casey Means did it, she needs to say something as the Surgeon General. Yes, I do recommend the measles, mumps, and rubella for the population. There may be people who may be sensitive to it or may have an adverse reaction, and we need to discuss that. But it is safe for 99% of the people, and it makes America healthier, and it protects our children. We don't want that South Carolina outbreak. A couple kids have died in Texas. That's not good. Those parents are devastated. I'm devastated. We don't need to have kids going through measles. Look, do we want polio was solved by a vaccination? I got that vaccine. I had friends who were in iron lungs. So, saying no to vaccinations is insane. But it's not, Democrats should not speak in total black and white issues on it. They need to acknowledge the minority. Another issue, when issues come up like fluoridation, for example, well, there are significant studies that show that about 1 million kids in America are at risk for neurological damage from fluoridation because the levels in drinking water are too high. And FYI, the reason why we fluoridate drinking water is not for all the kids who brush their teeth with fluoride toothpaste, it's for the kids who don't. So maybe educational programs about dental health would be far superior. Maybe universal health care that included dental health would be cheaper to the nation instead of having kids getting sick, adults getting sick, and rushing to emergency rooms because they weren't able to engage in preventive care. At the same time, also need to acknowledge in a very real way the strength of natural health, alternative medicine, herbs, vitamins as a way to maintain health. These are not cures, but they do support health. And Democrats need to learn how to talk about these issues because MAHA voters are like 4 or 5, 10% at least. of the population now. And if they're true to MAHA, they won't be stuck to MAGA. They will be cleaved away from the best by politicians and public leaders who know how to talk their language and speak to their issues because they are an issue-oriented movement. I think it's basically environmental health among white moms, which I'm all for, okay? You know, I work in Louisiana with black moms. I'm for environmental health because it's important to our nation, because we're losing IQ points across the board with kids when we load them up with organophosphate pesticides in their bread and tortillas. That's what I've been talking about. Or when we have heavy metals in their foods or PFAS chemicals, all of these attack the neurobiology of our kids, and they dumb down an entire population. Maybe your kid has 120 IQ, but they would have had 125 without all the exposures that we've suffered. It goes all across the board. That's the work of Dr. David Bellinger, whom our nonprofit group has worked with, Healthy Living Foundation. And it's published. He's one of our seminal researchers. So I believe in environmental health for everyone, not just for the physiological, for the physical, but also for our nation. All right, that's the Heartland podcast for today. My new book is Raising Healthy Kids, Protecting Your Children from Hidden Chemical Toxins. My YouTube podcast is at David Steinman _author, and you can also subscribe to my newsletter at Substack at David William Steinman. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.